comes a lot of people buying houses, or typically more than throughout the rest of the year. And, this is really this seller's market that has been pretty pervasive. And that really can put buyers at a pretty big disadvantage and can scare them a little bit. What do you tell buyers who are out there? And I know you're teaching, home buyer seminars and whatnot. There must be questions that are different than what they used to be as people become more savvy.
Well, I think they need to go into it with eyes open. First of all, trust your realtor. I know that's a hard one, but trust them. Because speaking from the realtor perspective, I always, everybody's giving them an opinion. Mm-hmm. Their dad is, their neighbor is, or, their best friend is, and they're all experts. And not to discount what they say, but as I always tell my clients, how many offers have they been in the last month? Because your realtor probably has been in quite a few. And they have some road experience on this that, your other people giving you experience, their advice are not up to speed on.
Sure.
So definitely listen to your realtor because they'll talk strategies with you.
Well, and I think what's kind of interesting, because we see it from the mortgage perspective too, is you get somebody who bought a house 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or has bought many houses, but it was all 3 years ago or whatever the number may be. And that's just no longer real world experience.
Well, yeah, it's not real world. And it's also hard too when the parents are in the Midwest and they're like, what are you paying for 500 square feet?
Right.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And they don't understand that our market's a totally different situation. Mm-hmm. So, trust your realtor in doing that. And they should be good enough that they can explain it in a way that you can go back to your other people that are advising you and explain, here's the situation. So they get to speed with you also on that.
Yeah. And I think, for a lot of people, especially first-time home buyers, they are not as comfortable just with their own decision, and they want social proof in some ways from the people who are closest to them.
Well, as a first-time buyer, everybody wants to feel like they got the best deal. They don't want to feel like they overpaid. They don't want to feel anything, they were taken advantage of. And in working with them, that's our goal, is we want it to be a win-win. But it's got to be a win-win for both buyer and seller. And right now, the seller gets to win a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just how it is.
And when you talk about winning, you're kind of talking about price here.
Well, price is part of it, but it's not always the end all. Not every home goes to the highest person who's going to pay. And let's be honest, if you're in a multiple offer situation and your buyer's like, okay, I understand this, paying a little more and escalating so I get to be the top bidder. Well, if you go into it and you're saying, well, I will pay $1,000 over the next best price. Well, $1,000 means nothing to that seller.
Especially in this $500,000 or $1 million
Well, exactly.
house.
If you really, you got to be upping that over best next price enough to where it's enough that they're going to look at you and go, oh, well, $10,000 more. That's something to maybe take into consideration. $1,000, they're going to be looking at a lot of other details in those offers.
It makes a lot of sense. So what is the number sometimes? And how much should somebody, does it matter? Does it matter the area?
Well, you mean like the magic number to get you the house?
No, like if you're in an escalation area,
right,
which I'm sure a lot of these are with these
right,
10 and 15 offers, 1,000 isn't enough. Is 5,000 enough?
Well,
is 10,000 enough?
I think it's a price point thing.
Yeah,
it's a price point thing. If you're looking at $500,000 or more house, 5,000 is not anything to those, because they're going to look back and go, that's nothing on their mortgage,
right?
And to the seller too. A 5,000 risk is not going to, they're going to take in that consideration because they're going to be actually looking a lot closer at financing. They're going to look at how much money you're putting up. They're going to be looking at what all are you waiving in your offer for us.
Well, and you go up a few $1,000 sometimes. All of a sudden, you might appear to be much tighter on maybe your loan than you really are. In which case, now, sellers could freak out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk financing. If you're putting 20% down or if you're putting 30% down, and there are those buyers out there doing that now, you're much more solid on your financing than 10%, 5% down. Mm-hmm. So, you got to figure out what kind of buyer you are going into these strategizing. If you are a 5% buyer, well, it's going to be hard competing against that 20% down. Doesn't mean you can't. But you're going to have to think about what can I do to make my offer look better.
So what are some strategies you have, for making an offer look better?
Well, earnest money. Don't do a little 30% earnest money down. I mean, the contracts are written, you're protected. You could lose up to 5% of the purchase price of earnest money, but put a big chunk of money down. I mean, if you're coming in, let's say you're doing $100,000 down on a $500,000 loan, well, put down more than 3%. Maybe you want to put $60,000 down right up front.
Well, and I think
because that seller's going to say they're putting a lot into it. They are serious. They want it. They're going to fund.
Which to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this almost like, hey, look over here, big earnest money check. I have 200 ways to get out of this thing.
Right.
But here, I'll just prove I'm serious with this check right now.
It's psychological.
It is, right?
Right. It's a psychological thing. Don't think you're going to be probably that serious about buying that house if you tell your agent, they're looking at offers Sunday. Oh, can we just go look Saturday? Hey, it's Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Guess what? All these serious people are buying. They're in there today and tomorrow. You got to be strategizing. You don't think you're going to walk into that house on Saturday and turn around and say, oh, I really like it. Can we get some pre-inspections done by tomorrow? Mm-hmm. You probably missed your window.
Right. Do you think that there are other pieces of the puzzle then that people can maybe spend less money on? I mean, I know right now one of people's fears is, well, I would love to sell my house, but where will I go? I mean, is there ways that a buyer can maybe alleviate that fear for a seller?
Well, what you are seeing now is that, that's one of the things. Your agent should be talking first up front with the seller agent, finding out a little bit about their story. What does they like? Where would they like some flexibility? There are sellers out there that, yes, they like hearing, oh, we'll close and we'll give you a month free rent back. That gives that seller a month of getting their stuff together to find a house and move on. Or maybe if that seller's moving back east, but it's just a big, overwhelming thing, the whole process. That works. I mean, there are sellers out there who like hearing that.
Eric Robison joins us, managing broker with Keller Williams. Eric, are there favors that people shouldn't be requesting? I mean, in some ways?
Don't go to the seller in this market and say you want a brand new roof. You expect them to, fix this leaky plumbing. I mean, come on. Seller market means seller doesn't want to do anything.
Right.
And there are buyers that are willing to say that. So if you're going to be this picky buyer, you need to listen again to your agent and learn what the market is about today.
Well, and you bring that back. We just have about a minute left, but to bring that back to the point that you said, trust your agent. There's a lot of dialogue that goes on maybe between real estate agents that the buyer, you're not in the room most likely with them. How do those dialogues work? And what are you guys talking about? And then how are you bringing that information to your buyer?
Well, you ask them everything you can about the seller. Now, some agents will disclose some things, some will be tight-lipped. But you're trying to find out, how many people. It's totally poker, a little bluffing here and there. But, you want to know, are there other offers? Have there been some pre-inspections? Throw it out there. Say, hey, is someone offering you all cash? Because I got a person here who's really interested, but, let's not waste all our time here because they've been through 4, offers already that they haven't got, and they've lost out to cash buyers. So if we hear cash, we walk. Come on, be honest.
Right.
Because you're going to get 5 other offers anyway.
Right.
Don't waste our time.
Right.
Yeah, and usually they'll be upfront about that. But then again, it still could happen because not all, people writing their offers are disclosing that information to the seller.
And they don't have to disclose.
No, they don't have to disclose anything until their offer comes in. So, we get as much information as we can to sit down with our buyer and talk about it and strategize about it. But I do know buyers, after they've been up against 3 houses and they haven't gotten it, they're starting to get a little, discouraged. And part of our job is to try to help them work through that,
Yeah.
Because eventually they're going to get that house.
At some point in time.
They will get their house. It's just that those were not the right house.
And it may be much further away than they wanted.